Hey, happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. It is the middle of the week, middle of Thanksgiving week. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I hope everybody is, if you're celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope you are getting ready for that and getting excited about that. If you're traveling, please be safe. And I hope that you have a great time spending it with your families, your loved ones, whoever it is you're going to spend it with. And enjoy the season. Enjoy the beginning, the kickoff of the holiday season with Thanksgiving. And I'm going to be traveling to visit my mom. She's about an hour away from here. And we're going to be there with our families as well. And this is In the Raw, Unscripted, Unpracticed, Unedited Conversation. We're talking about made to make a difference. We are all made to make a difference. All of us, God has made us with a purpose to influence others, to shine on others, to make a difference in others. But we can't make a difference in somebody else if we first don't make a difference in our lives. And that is important. And we've been talking about this. And one of the things that I'm always fascinated by is how the first church, the beginning church, in the book of Acts was doing all of this. You know, here we have a bunch of people that were just new to Christianity, they weren't even called Christians yet. They were just new to a different way of life. You know, they took a step of faith and said, we're going to follow Jesus. You know, Jesus wasn't as popular back then in that in the community or in society. In the culture back then, Jesus was not as popular, and people said, we're going to go out on a limb and we're going to follow him. We're going to follow his teachings. And that's how the church was born. That's how the Christian church was born. And these people in Acts were just living the way Jesus taught them to live. And, you know, we can also do the same thing 2,000 years later, or more than 2,000 years later. We can do the same thing. We have the chance to be the hands and the feet of Jesus, especially when you think of all the resources that are at our fingertips. And, you know, we take a look at different groups out there, or organizations that, you know, exist to help, you know, people that are dying from starvation, people that are dying from disease, people that are in slavery. You know, I've read and heard of different organizations out there that do this, and they're doing something about all these devastating issues that are happening in our world. And, you know, this is what we're called to do. You know, and as I said in the previous video, we may not be able to travel the world, but there's something we can do here in our home or where we are to help other people and to make a difference in the lives of others. You know, and so we have the opportunity to do that through many different ways. So, you know, we just have to think, what about me? How can I do this? How can I make a difference in the lives of others when I have a lot of distractions around my life? And this is a good question to think about. And I think there's an answer to this. It's in the book of Acts, chapter 2, and it is the story of what is called the Day of Pentecost, and a miracle that happened in the church of that time. And it says, I'm going to read out of Acts 2, verse 3 and 4. They saw something that looked like flames of fire. The flames were separated and stood over each person there. They were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and they began to speak in different languages. The Holy Spirit was giving them the power to do this. So you've got the disciples crowded in the upper room, what was known as the upper room. They were praying and wondering what they were supposed to do next. And the Holy Spirit comes upon them, and the consequence of that coming of the Holy Spirit is that they all of a sudden were able to speak in languages that they had never studied. And they were connecting with people from all over the world. So what do we do with a story like that? I mean, how does that impact us? I think that it tells us, number one, that when God gives us a challenge, he's also going to give us the power. When God gives us a challenge of changing the world, He's not going to leave us alone to figure out things on our own. If Christ is in you, His Spirit is in you too. So you need to come out of your shell, come out of your world. Try it out. Get out there and walk around among the people and look for the people with whom you are most fluent. Look for the people whose language makes sense to you. And I'm not just only talking about being able to speak another language. I'm talking about the language that some of you know how to speak. Some of you know how to speak the language of the poor, or speak the language of a certain group, or speak the language of those in depression, or you speak the language of people who have been abused. There's some people around you with whom you quickly connect. That is the language that God has asked you to speak. That's your area of fluency. So focus there, and also follow your passion. Not all of us have the same passion for the same problems. That's the way God has built His body. We don't feel equal burdens for the situation. It doesn't mean that we don't care. Some people have a burden for people on drugs, and others for people who have been abused. So what pushes your button? Where is your heart? I think if you can focus on these areas, look at your fluency, look at your heart, then you'll find the area of service for which you are uniquely suited, and follow that. And that's where you make a difference. I mean, I know the problems of this world may seem way too overwhelming and complex, but you have to remember that He is faithful in giving us direction and strength. Take a look at people's lives around you, and say, God, what do you want me to do here? How do you want me to make a difference in this life? All we have to do is open our eyes, look around, and we will see people, and God will direct us. Through His Holy Spirit will direct us to those people. All right. Well, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, rest of your week. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your families, and be thankful. We are thankful for what we have. We are thankful for who we are and what everything represents to us, what God represents to us. Let's be thankful always. All right. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Talk to you soon.